Growing up, I thought that Laurie Partridge was the complete package. Beauty, brains, and musical talent up the wazoo. Laurie was pretty much perfect. Her only flaw was that she wasn't real. So with that said, this video is about Laurie's real-life alter ego, Susan Dey, who it turns out is even more amazing than any of the characters that she ever played on television. In just a few minutes, I'll provide an update regarding what she's been up to lately. But first, let's look back at where she has been. So let's start with Susan's most recognizable role, at least for me. After a couple of years of modeling, Susan landed the role of Laurie Partridge when she was 17. The show would run on ABC television for 4 seasons. And in addition to being a ratings hit, the fictional family had a bunch of real-life musical chart toppers, including 1970's biggest hit song, at least here in the US, titled I Think I Love You. You know, I've got to believe that this was all very exciting for Susan, who won the part of Laurie Partridge, even though she had no acting experience. Little known fact, an aspiring young singer-actress from Australia had originally been slated to play Laurie, but at the last moment, she passed on the role. We'll talk more about that particular lady later on in this video. In addition to lending some killer vocals, Laurie Partridge was also the keyboard player in the band. Susan herself did not know how to play the piano. At one point asked if the show would provide her with lessons so that she could perform more realistically and perhaps at some point in the future actually play the music herself. That request was denied. From what I understand, none of the actors, even David Cassidy and Shirley Jones, were really hired for their musicianship. In fact, in the pilot episode of the Partridge Family, David Cassidy, yes, David Cassidy is actually lip-syncing to someone else's vocals. Speaking of David Cassidy, from everything that I can tell, it does seem that for a brief period of time he and Susan were really together as a couple. However, as David detailed in his autobiography, Come On Get Happy, that relationship was doomed because he saw her more as a sister than a lover. In the book, he says that her wholesome looks just didn't do it for him. Truthfully, I don't know what David was talking about. Case in point is one of my favorite movies from the early 80s titled Looker. Written and directed by Michael Crichton, this film stars Albert Finney, James Coburn, and a very sexy Susan Dey. One role that Susan had passed on before Looker was that of Sandy in Grease. Remember when I mentioned that an aspiring Australian singer and actress had passed on the Laurie Partridge role? Well, that young lady was Olivia Newton-John. So Susan passing on Grease was just her way of, albeit unknowingly, returning the favor years later. From 1986 to 1992, she knocked it out of the park as Grace Van Owen on NBC Television's LA Law. During that show's first 6 seasons, Dey was nominated for an Emmy 3 times and a Golden Globe 6 times for her work on the show. She actually won the award in 1988. Susan's final on-screen appearance was in 2004 when she appeared in 2 episodes of Third Watch as a character named Dr. Breen. After that, Susan decided it was time to live a different kind of life, something away from the fast pace of the entertainment industry. In 1988, Dey had married for the second time, this time to television producer Bernard Safransky. She has a daughter who was born in 1978 from that first marriage. Susan and Bernard reside in a lovely little northern Catskills community in the state of New York, where she has become very involved in many of the cultural and civic elements of the area. More on that in a moment. But before we go there, I should mention that Susan has served as a board member of the Rape Treatment Center at the UCLA Medical Center. From what I can tell, her involvement with the center has been something that she's felt very strongly about. In fact, Susan is so passionate about helping victims of this particularly heinous crime that she co-narrated a documentary on campus rape with her former LA Law co-star Corbin Burnson. Now let's get back to Susan's cultural and civic involvement in New York. There's a video right here on YouTube from 2013 where Susan talks about a Battle of the Bands competition that she was helping to promote as well as get monetary support for. From the interview, it's clear to see that she's such a vibrant and inspirational force for good in her community. and the folks in upstate New York are truly lucky to have her. Although she was promoting a cultural event, Susan also spent quite a bit of time talking about the community as a whole and that deep sense of connectedness that she feels to the area. As the video winds down, the interviewer asks Susan if she ever misses acting and if she would ever think about coming out of retirement and doing it again. Her answer was a good one. She didn't say no, only that it would have to be a very good role. That said, maybe what she's doing now is a more noble pursuit. Based on the interview, I'd say that she certainly seems happy and content with the choices that she's made over the years. And if you think about it, what more can any of us really ask for? Her life, from her youth to the more mature and wise woman that she is now, has been nothing short of picture perfect, if you ask me. One more thing that I've got to mention are the two movies that Susan made with John Ritter back in the early 80s. They were titled The Comeback Kid and Sunset Limousine, both TV movies. Longtime channel subscribers know that I'm a big fan of John Ritter, and I've got to say that I loved watching these two act together. Alright, now it's your turn. Please feel free to share your memories in the comments section, and if you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up, and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.